Alright guys, TouchGrubby back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday so far, and tomorrow the New York home series begins. We'll do all our predictions video as usual in tomorrow's video, but today we're going to talk about the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles changes that have been rumoured over the last few days. Yesterday the Huntsmen decided to scrim them, and we got to see very loud and clear in the lobby exactly what the changes that they have made is. We have no confirmation officially from OpTic Gaming as of yet. We have an announcement from Chino saying he's been benched until at least the next few events. Maybe they'll need it for champs. We'll talk about that in coming minutes here. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section below as always. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you are new. First of all, as we've discussed in yesterday's video, the meta that's going down right now, who even knows what's going on? We talked about Atlanta FaZe potentially going rogue and using the org. Another team saying like, we're going to use whatever, we're going to completely break the GAs against Atlanta FaZe if they want to break the GA that we want to implement. Tabisi did delete one of the tweets that he tweeted out yesterday, so maybe they're backtracking somewhat. Hopefully that's not the case. But this comes out from Octane last night, and it was kind of a crazy thing that was going down on stream, because Octane says, guys, we did it. We successfully made Modern Warfare worse somehow. Wait till you cast this. I'm so sorry in advance. Talking about the meta right now, you get an M4, you get an M4, saying that M4s are coming into the meta thick and fast. Then again, Octane was also using the AK-47 on stream, as a couple of you guys have pointed out to me. Also the Growl. So like, who knows what the meta is going to be. If you guys have seen Octane's YouTube videos, like he had one a while ago of him using the AK-47, having some pretty good results with it. So who knows what's going to happen this weekend in the meta. It's crazy times right now. Also, thanks to Canteen Pappy for pointing this out to me. This came out from Sibilance. Just wanted to put this on the big screen for you guys to see what the Odin can do. Look at this. He mantles, two-shot across the map. Like, what is even going on there? So the Odin is actually a really, really powerful gun. None of the pros have been using it. I know Parasite's been talking about the Ram 7 as well that he's potentially going to be using. So, like, the game is chaos right now. It's going to be very tough to predict tomorrow's action, given what the meta even looks like. Who even can predict it right now? And as Joey Nubsy says, absolutely riveting meta we have here, showing that there's 5 M4s on this team right now. I imagine this was on Azir Cave, but it's impossible to tell by the screenshot. But still, a 5 M4 meta. I don't know what we're going to be seeing this weekend, but it's certainly got me quite excited to tune in. Also wanted to mention this, a couple of people were pointing this out on my Discord, that apparently in Wuskin's stream a couple of days ago, he said that London actually tried to pick up Gunless, but he didn't even reply, so I don't know who that would have been for. Maybe Shawnee, but now with the, so Scraps is going to run AR on Cave as well, so probably they're going to be using multiple AR setups. I imagine Shawnee is going to be the one to move up the AR now, but kind of interesting to see the potential of Gunless going to London. Then again, he apparently didn't even reply, so that didn't go very far, and we don't know what's going on with Gunless right now. Unlikely to be on a team for the rest of the season, I imagine, other than at the Chicago Huntsmen's bench. But this is the situation with OGLA. Rex is another name I heard OpTic Gaming were interested in, so this is from Crone at CDL Intel. There's also one more player they're looking at too, so this came out a few days ago. We had this rumour of Drazza coming into the starting lineup, or at least getting tested out with Kenny, Slasher, TJ and Chino, and then, well, Lando came out and said that it's actually possible they look into a 2-person change, with Chino being the second person to step out of the team. So Rex was getting a trial. We also looked at, of course, Hollow getting a trial then on, and then Pac-Man says former coach. OGLA is so odd what they're doing with the team right now. And then we get this from Chino, effectively confirming, or not necessarily confirming, but it seemed like he was rather annoyed on Twitter, which is kind of rare for Chino, but definitely understandable given the situation, given the fact that he's been in the team for a while, he's had to play difficult roles, and then we get to a point where it's a few months away from champs, or really only a month or so away from champs, probably less than 5 weeks or 5-6 weeks until champs. Hasn't been officially confirmed the date. I know a few of you guys have been asking that, but it'll be sometime in mid-August, I imagine, and there's so much money on the line, right? $4.6 million. If you finish in 11th or 12th, you don't get any of that. If you finish in first place, you get $2 million, 400 grand a piece, which is kind of crazy. So of course, Chino not getting the opportunity to compete as it looks right now is got to be kind of frustrating, and I'd certainly be frustrated in his position. But Dashy was, it seems like Dashy was always going to be gone. They talked about, you know, practice issues they've had since the beginning of the season. Dashy clearly is, well, they feel at least has been affecting those problems that they've had the whole season. Chino maybe not as much, but even since they, you know, they put Jacob out of the team, they brought Chino into the team. In terms of pure statistics, nothing really has changed in terms of the squad, but Chino maybe has enabled them to get somewhat better, but they're still not a team that's going to win championships as the performance is right now. So they felt like going into champs, especially with the online scene, they need to make some changes and bring in some amateur guys, as the likes of Florida Mutineers have done with Awakening, as the likes of New York Sublanders have done, of course, with Mac, and other teams as well, such as Los Angeles Guerrillas, that seem to be improving, bringing in guys like Vivid earlier in the season. And really, there hasn't been any players this season, apart from, I suppose, Spart on LAG, that have come in from the amateur side and not really performed up to what the team would expect. Spart, of course, came in and then has since been, you know, released, dropped back off the team. Saints has come in, and maybe Spart will get an opportunity next season, but right now it doesn't look incredibly likely. So OGLA are probably sitting there thinking, we need to get on a piece of this action. So Chino says, just hate that I put my all into this and it's somehow my fault. Others don't. Never appreciated. Always a second option. Tired of not putting myself first. And then as Chrono City Lintel says, OpTic Gaming looking to sign both Drazza and Hollow412, formerly known as Norks. And well, this tweet, my life defo movie, 3% Rotten Tomatoes, this tweet from Chino. So I kind of ugly to see, and this came out last night on stream. I'll put the video clip on screen for you guys now, but Drazza and Hollow in, Chino and Dashy out, Hollow, Drazza, Kenny, TJ, and Slasher is the squad right now. So certainly a very interesting team. There's also this that comes out from Chino where he talks about the situation. I'll play this on screen for you guys because, you know, it's tough not to like Chino.
Hey guys, just kind of wanted to make a video just to explain how I'm feeling right now and what's my plan. So last night I was pretty upset, you know, I was mad, angry, frustrated, everything like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, those guys are some of my best friends, they're my teammates, and I mean, if they felt like this, the decisions were the best for the team, then, you know, it's best for the team, you know, I'm not going to be frustrated about it, just, you know, it's just hard, you know, but, I mean, who knows, maybe I'll get a chance to play champs or something like that, if the team needs me, and then, next year, hopefully, I can become a starter, you know, just trying to do my best with what I'm given, kind of, but, right now, I just plan on streaming every day, trying to have good vibes, stuff like that, you know, still be the same guy I always am, but, yeah, I just appreciate all the support, guys, appreciate everyone always supporting, and, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
So this is the squad as it's listed on CoD Gamepedia right now, but clearly it looks like Dashy and Chino are stepping out of the team for Drazza and Hollow. I believe Hollow will be the one using the second AR on a lot of maps, and you're probably going to have Slasher as the main AR, Hollow as the second main AR when it matters or when it's needed. And of course right now that's going to be quite a lot with the meta we've talked about over the coming days or the past days. TJ, Halley, of course, Kenny, and then Drazza all on the SMGs. Who knows what they're going to be using in the meta right now. Have to see how things develop. As I said, they're not playing this weekend. I believe they're playing the weekend after at the London home series, which of course we will discuss at the time. Interesting decision to make this change. I imagine that, well, Slasher was not necessarily the mastermind behind this, but I'm sure he's had a difficult time this season dealing with players that, well, he's maybe not played with in the past and had difficulties with practice, and we've heard the stories about Dashy in previous teams, TJ, or not TJ, but TP even, Crimsix, Karma, talking about how either he doesn't turn up to practice on time, even though that's not always, apparently Dashy does tend to turn up to practice on time, but maybe he doesn't take it super hard, and in terms of team vibes and team chemistry, I'm sure a guy like Slasher wasn't particularly happy with that, and bringing in some amateur players that have the drive, that have the hunger, that are going to listen to these kind of guys like TJ, you know, Kenny and Slasher, the amount of championships they've won over the last few years. Of course, Slasher world champion. All of these are some of the greatest players to ever play the game without doubt, and the results they've had this season definitely don't stack up to that. To be honest, this entire team at the start of the season looked absolutely filthy on paper, but it's pretty much been a disaster from start to finish. Interesting change. I imagine if the rest of the season was going to be on LAN, they wouldn't have been so eager to make this move, but with other teams having had some success with it, maybe that's played into the thought process here. We'll have to see how it goes, because if this helps TJ, Kenny, and Slasher step up their game to another level, even if they kind of have to sacrifice the stats of the new guys that are coming into the squad, or however they decide to organize the team, maybe it'll take them to another level, because I can imagine that this, especially the drive from these younger guys, definitely could step up their game. And well, it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe when it gets confirmed, we can talk about it a little bit more. Thought this was interesting that Damien pointed out to me as well. So this was on the Codcast stream the other day. Read Slasher's comment about Pharaoh, and well, we better zoom out here. But Slasher says, I wanted to pick up Jay onto OGLA, if you guys can see that. So Jay, of course, being Pharaoh earlier this season, when there was rumors that maybe he was wanted to get picked up to OGLA, or at least that was in the works. And then we had him, of course, eventually going on to the Florida Mutineers and stepping up that roster to a very dominant level as it stands right now. So it's interesting why maybe Pharaoh didn't want to go to this team, or exactly what's happened here, because they've played, of course, with each other on the 100 Thieves team last season when they had an absolutely awful run of things earlier in the season. And Slasher was talking at the time about how Pharaoh, you know, he's not committed, in a similar way to, I suppose, what we hear about Dashy as of right now. And then they swapped out Pharaoh, of course, so Priester came into the squad, and 100 Thieves came one of the best teams in the game. So it's strange to me, to be honest, the Slasher's now saying, oh, well, you know, I was pretty happy for Pharaoh to come back, and well, maybe that just shows what an absolute shambles that team was earlier this season, and he saw, you know, more promise in Jay and Pharaoh than maybe some of the other teammates he had at the time on OGLA. Have to see how this team goes forward. Also wanted to mention this before we finished off the video. I did this the other day, and I thought it was worth putting at the end of the video today. this kind of luck factor in group draw. Now, this isn't a perfect analysis by any means, but I went through the other day and looked through every single match seeding for the group play so far this season and towards the end of the season as well, and having a look at how hard those groups have been on average given the current standings. Because if you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure after the very first weekends, they decided every single tournament for the rest of the season was going to go down between certain teams and what the groups were going to be and all the matchups, which is good to some degree because it allows teams to prepare in advance and to look into the matches they're going to be playing. But the problem is that some teams are going to have a really hard time because it's going to turn out that some teams get better or worse over time and just have hard pools out over the course of it because the pools don't get reseeded based on placings. In an ideal world, I think we could have a situation where, I'll just put this on the big screen. I know it's not going to be it's not going to fit perfectly, but in an ideal world, you would have like chunks of 3, I would say, that you can reseed after each group of 3, or each time there's 3 matches have been played or 3 home series have been played, then you can reseed for the next ones. So I thought it was kind of interesting. It's not perfect because it just does standings. If it was done on maybe overall like match record or something of opponents, then maybe that would be better. But this kind of sets the picture. Just to explain this expected valuation, so if you're Atlanta FaZe, you're in first place. Therefore, your average expected opponent is going to be the average of the 2nd and the 12th places. So you add up all the numbers between 2 and 12, and then you divide that by 11 teams, and it comes out as 7, which is the average expected, average record of your opposition. And then you go down to LAG in 12th, and because they are the 12th place team, the average you would expect from the other teams is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way to 11, divided by 11, which comes out as 6. So the expected, value varies between 7 and 6 for every single team, depending on their current placing. And then this number is the actual average value of who they've played. So on the whole, it looks like Chicago have had the luckiest run. They've been playing Seattle and LAG a lot in a lot of these groups. They've had one especially tough group at their own home series. But apart from that, it's been relatively easy going. You compare that to a team like New York, for example. They've been playing Atlanta a lot. Dallas have had a pretty hard run as well. And this doesn't take into account who they've played in all of their groups, like who they actually played in the groups, but it just takes into account who was in the groups. So definitely someone could do a more in-depth study on this. I thought it was kind of interesting to see that, some teams have got lucky in terms of how their groups are played out. Some teams have got relatively unlucky. And so maybe next season we could do something about that. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I will see you next time.